Where'll you be going?
Texas?
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Go on, make it happen.
And now here's Steve and Michelle.
Welcome back to Mallet and Michelle. I'm Michelle Lewis, stimulating the economy with my shopping addiction, and Steve Mallet, always running like someone is chasing him.
Boy, that is true. I was going to call you Blind Michelle today because you got your new glasses and they don't seem to be working that well.
Yeah, I can't see out of them.
You were pretty funny that, well, I guess we're on video, but you right before the show, you were putting on your little lipstick.
I was looking in the mirror.
God.
I was looking in the, or not mirror.
She's fixing her hair and yeah. So welcome to the show, everybody.
Somebody's got to look good for the show, Steve.
It's not going to be me.
Somebody's going to look good. Welcome to our sponsors, Nomic Power Solutions.
Jovi Belterra, really cool 55-plus community in Dripping Springs in Belterra.
South Star Bank.
And Mallet Integrity Team.
Real
estate. I just figured out the other day, all of our experience now is like, with the 4 agents we have, it's 55 years of experience. If we add your 10 years in, 65 years of experience.
That's right. Almost as old as you are.
Almost as old as me. I got a couple quick shorts that I want to run through. Chicken Express, closed. Surprise!
That is part of my story right here.
Oh.
I have a whole...
It's short. You have a whole story about that?
No, I don't have a whole story.
Okay, well, I'll move on then, and you bring it up.
If you take all of my stories, I'm going to
take all your stories. I guarantee. Oh, are you doing one on Wildwood? No, you told me to do that.
Yes, I am.
Okay, I'm going to second short. Chevron, the oil company, sent out some earning reports this week and referred to their operations in south of Texas as operations in the Gulf of America.
Oh,
isn't that interesting?
Yes.
Yeah, an official earnings report. And then they said, well, if Google's calling it Gulf of America, then we'll call it Gulf of America. Well, I looked on Google Maps. It's not called Gulf of America yet on Google Maps. It's still called Gulf of Mexico.
Well, good. I mean, they need to get with the program then.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Just know that if at some point you're joining us on YouTube, I just started the recording.
Oh God!
You know, we're a little off right now.
I swear I need like one of those whiteboards to hold up. Press YouTube. Turn on YouTube.
I need a
turn
producer.
On your camera.
I need a producer.
Tell me your stories. Put on your lipstick. Put on your eyes.
I need hair and makeup. Stat.
Makeup. Add that in. We need a producer. We need somebody that just does this stuff for us.
We do. Well,
interns out there want to come be our producer.
We started recording later in the day. Usually we're recording first thing in the morning, yes. And it's like we're a little off. And our guest is coming in a little bit later today because she's busy. I don't know, running a restaurant or something.
Becky Atkins from Summer Revival Wine Company is going to join us. We've been hounding her for a while, and she's going to come on today.
Well, while you were gone all day gallivanting around,
God, I wish I hadn't.
I did some stalking on her, so her story is really interesting.
She's a very interesting person. When she sent us her bio, she said a couple things, and I was like, wow, I never would have suspected that.
I found some really cool stuff.
All right, since I stepped on your first story, go right ahead, Michelle.
Okay, well, I'm going to make my first story, my second story, my first story. So some closings here in Dripping Springs. Chick-fil-A is closed through February, possibly to the first part of March. They're doing a full remodel, and I hope it's the parking lot.
I was over there yesterday, and that place is torn up.
Is it I almost went today, just muscle memory, to go get an iced tea.
You ended up with an iced tea from Whataburger, but it's not iced tea.
It's Diet Coke.
It's rum and Coke.
It is. That would explain why I don't know what I'm doing right now. No, I'm really sad, but I've told you this story already, but I was last week. So I'm going to apologize to the public that anybody that was in line with me at Chick-fil-A last week. So I got impatient. I just went to go get my tea and my little sandwich. I was running late, and I was in the mobile line, and I saw an out. I didn't want to wait to the 6 cars in front of me. And I went between the cones. Well, there was a curb there. And I went over the curb, and then I had to go.
You know how I knew that? I saw it on TikTok.
Oh, I'm sure you did. Yeah, I'm sure you did. But
It was a video called "Idiot Drivers." I think you were the first or second one.
I was
can't
so
remember.
embarrassed. Like once I was on the curb, I was like, "Oh no, I got to commit. Like, what am I going to do? Back
Got
up?
to just go. Yeah.
And then I had to drive around the bank and then like come back
the
past
drive
the
of
same
shame.
people. Yeah,
I'm a terrible driver.
Yeah, that was pretty
Don't
funny.
judge me.
Please. Well, and you also mentioned Texas, Chicken Express. You know.
I feel bad for him.
I do.
but
Any restaurant owner.
yeah, it's a hard
just-
business, but it's a terrible location.
Well, it's hard to get. It's not so much as a terrible location as is it's really hard to get employees that want to work.
Yeah,
so out
I'm
here,
sure it was a mix of things, but it's not a good location. I never saw anybody there. You would think that they would have had a pretty good clientele, but I would very rarely see people going in or out of there.
they had good corn nuggets. I liked their corn nuggets, so that's what I'm going to miss
Can't pay that kind of rent
on
with
a corn nugget.
sales.
But so something that's opening, Cousin Louie's. Cousin Louie's has now opened. They are owned by the Tony C's family of pizzerias and stuff like that. And they named it after their cousin Louie.
Aw.
Yes, and Louis Socola, I think is his name, but he's the head chef.
This is where Mighty Fine was for about a minute and a half.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. I know there's a lot of people that were in Belterra. They got friends and family invites to go try their soft opening.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is neat.
How come we didn't get invited to that?
Because we don't live in Belterra.
well, that's true.
Here's another one that I bet you didn't know. Going Postal is closing. Yes. Do you know where
Really?
that is? Yeah, they are closing.
Where's that located?
That's over past Belterra on the. I think it's not where the Baylor Scott and White is, but it's kind of right around over there. They were always super nice. I don't know exactly when they're closing, but their lease is up, and they've been telling their customers that they are not reopening somewhere.
I hate seeing any business.
Well, and
fail.
yeah, so I guess the Belterra women finally drove them crazy enough to close their doors. Coming up also, the Wild Game Dinner. You have talked about this many times.
Yeah, I was involved with that for about 10 years.
February 22nd from 6 to 9. Tickets are $15. So that one's really cool. I think it's really neat that they're continuing that tradition.
They raised a lot of money.
That's really neat.
People will pay a lot of money to eat bear and emu and buffalo and
I'd pay more money not to eat it. So, we've got the skate park here in Dripping Springs.
Yep.
Kyle is now opening the 5th largest skate park in Texas. It will have 34,000 square feet. It's an all-wheels skate park. It has, and I'm not a skater, or I wasn't a skater.
All wheels. Does that mean like rollerbladers can go? Roller skates?
It's going to have soft surfaces, concrete and asphalt. Skateboarders, scooters, and wheelchairs will be welcomed.
Oh, that's cool.
So I don't know necessarily about rollerblades. I don't know who still rollerblades anymore. You look like a dork, and that's stupid. So don't do that. But they're going to have a dump track. I don't know what that is. A flow boy. Equally don't know what that is. And a skate plaza.
We need to get Dennis Baldwin in here. He'll know what that means.
Tell us all what that is.
You sure it wasn't pump track?
It probably is a pump track.
So pump track is
I don't know.
Is like for bicycles. It's where there's a lot of ups and downs, and you don't pedal very much. You kind of use the up and down you sort of like pump the bike up and down.
Oh well, I prefer dump track.
Yeah.
I prefer dump track. And also what is coming up is the Dripping Springs Art League. They are going to be having a market day in the Triangle, and it's going to be the second Saturday of each month. They're going to have it in March, April, May, October, November, and December. Mallet and Michelle, we are sponsoring it. They're going to have 40 plus vendors, just all sorts of stuff. I think it's going to be really cool, much needed. Steve and Jennifer Friedman have done an amazing job just kind of curating art here in the
Art
town.
League has been huge for Dripping Springs. It's changing the character of our town, and I applaud them for coming up with that idea and putting it in place.
I think it's going to be really neat. There's going to be food and drink vendors also that will be available there. But that's my current Dripping Springs
there you
news,
go.
except for the school. I'll go back to that when you're done.
Yeah, I didn't step on you too bad with that.
Yeah.
So we were at a summit, a real estate summit last week, and there was a Realtor.com economist there that gave a presentation, and he talked for about half an hour, but there was a couple sort of nuggets that I wrote down that I wanted to pass on to our listeners and watchers. In 2024, the lowest number of homes sold in the U.S. since 1996. So we went back almost 30 years to have the number of sales, which is even more surprising because there was a lot less homes in 1996 than there is now. So 2024 was a bad year. Hayes County prices overall on average fell 11.7% from 2023 in 2024.
In 2024.
Yeah.
Okay.
Almost 12% price decrease. That's huge.
And people that have their house for sale still are living
that
up
was
in
the
2023.
next nugget I wrote down is you can't price your property too high. I was just talking to somebody yesterday and they said, well, I wanted to test the market and price it a little bit high. And I was like, well, that's the kiss of death in this market. Yeah. Because usually what happens is that they're pricing it too high based on a number that was from 2 years ago. So they think they're only 5% high. They're actually 20% too high because of this drop.
I love the whole let's test the market theory. You're just what you're really doing is you're wasting time on the market.
You're wasting your own time.
Yeah.
And in reality, probably what will happen is when you do eventually sell it, you'll get a lot less money for it because you're going to keep dropping the price to chasing the market down.
Wait, can I ask you a quick question? Is it it's kind of a wise tale that the first offer is usually the best offer or the most negotiable offer? Like you can really
it depends on when that offer comes, but it's usually if it's a decent offer, it's usually the most motivated buyer, so they're going to pay the most for it. If you pass up on that and you wait 6 months, that second buyer is not going to offer you as much as somebody that made an offer the first week, unless it's a low ball. So I was talking to somebody yesterday, and somebody made an offer like 40% off the list. Obviously, that's not going to be the best offer,
cuckoo.
Yeah. This Realtor.com economist expects an 11% increase in homes for sale, which is inventory, in 2025. So there's going to be more stuff out there to buy. What we got to do is get some of these buyers off the fence. A couple more things. He says, we talked about this on the show, we said 71% of agents last year didn't sell a house. Realtor.com says 74%, 3 out of 4 agents did not close a single sale in 2024.
Well, that's good for real estate agents that have been in the market or in the business for a long time and that actually treat it like a job. You and I have talked about this before, where I don't see how part-time agents that don't treat this as their full-time job could do this now with all of the legal changes.
All the changes, and you got to really be up on it. And it's not just being up to speed, for the last something that happened 6 months ago. Yeah. Things are changing like weekly. I just read something else on MLS. They're changing some rules on that. But I think 2025 is going to be a better year, and this guy agrees with that. But I get kind of a Dripping Springs thing. This wasn't from Realtor.com. The population of Dripping Springs from 2022 to 2023 went from 5,495 to 622. It was like 750 people added to the population. Now, that's just the city limits.
Okay.
When I moved here, it was 1,200 or something, or 1,300 people. So now it's 6,222. And the population is older in Dripping Springs. The birth rate in Dripping Springs dropped in the last 10 years. So that tells me the population's older, which, it's a lot of people coming here to retire or people that are grandparents coming here to spend time with their kids. So there's interesting real estate stuff going on.
Hey, I still think it's a great place to raise a family.
I completely agree.
It's just, I love this place. I'm not moving anytime soon. And as a matter of fact, my daughter at some point will move back.
I'm sure she
to
will.
her hometown.
I think she's talking about it already.
To her hometown for sure. So speaking of with the population growth, we were getting a new elementary school. I think you and I were there for the ribbon cutting, and they have finally named it, and it is called
Wildwood Springs.
Wildwood Springs. It beat out, what were the names? Emerald Springs and BlueBonnet Springs.
BlueBonnet Springs, yeah.
They felt like Emerald Springs, they were going to keep that in the queue, I guess, for when they decided to add the middle school. But there was a community survey that went out. So there was feedback from students and parents, staff, and community members, and they all kind of chimed in what they wanted. It is the name of a real spring in the area.
I looked it up. It's actually off of Wildwood Hills Lane, which is
Where's
the road right behind the new HEB, which when I was
Nutty Brown?
Yeah, it's off of Nutty Brown. When do we stop calling that the new HEB? How long has it been there?
I don't know.
Is it still
2 years?
the
a year?
HEB at Nutty Brown?
The new
Either
HEB.
the new HEB.
Yeah.
There's a road that goes back behind HEB called Wildwood Hills, and the spring is back off of that. It's back in there a mile or two.
I didn't have that in my research, so I'm glad you did this. Well, the school is slated to open for the school year of August of 2025, which is really cool. In Headwaters, we talked about that, and then they also announced the new principal. And his name is, I wrote it in marker, and so I'm going to butcher his last name. Steve Novakos, I think is how you say his last name. He
Works
was the
for
principal of Rooster. He was the vice principal of Sycamore. He came out of state, and apparently he's very well liked and very well respected, and people are very excited.
So he's getting up to speed because that school is supposed to open fall of this year.
Of this year, and
That's crazy.
People were griping and moaning because they lost another principal at Rooster, and
I think I read something like the vice principal is going to take over. Maybe they're looking for.
You know what? They should be just the people that gripe and moan should be so grateful that these people are willing to step up and spend their life teaching your children, whether or not you have kids in the school district or not. But,
Yeah.
It is what it is. But that's really cool. When I first moved here, there was Dripping Springs Elementary, Walnut Springs, and my kids went to the new school, which the new school was Rooster.
Oh, yeah.
And just to see the growth that we have, that was kind of one of the things that Becky said. We send out a bio, and Becky said she stays awake at night to make this current dream work. But I also think a lot about what Dripping Springs will be when it grows up. It's growing up whether we like it or not.
No, that's
I thought
true.
that was
I want to
really
ask her about that. I have written some questions for her. So I've got one more story. Speaking about growing up, I saw this article last week. I'm always bashing on social media. D. Marsh makes fun of me constantly because I'm so bad about social media. So I read this article, and it was saying that adults need to stop freaking out about the dangers of social media, that kids can actually handle social media.
Okay.
So hear me out.
Okay.
I'm not taking a position on this.
Okay.
I'm telling you what this article said. So this lady Lucy Folks wrote this article, and it's an essay. It's not a news story. It's just an essay. She says modern life is digital. Stop with all the bans. And then there are grassroots organizations out there that argue children under 14 shouldn't even have a cell phone because all evidence tells us it's damaging.
Well,
having a cell phone, I guess. Did you know that Australia just banned all social media for kids under 16? You can't get on social media.
That's an interesting. I saw a quote, and I was going to butcher it, but I saw a quote that says something like, "When you want your kids to grow up, introduce them to social media." So people are always saying, "Oh, the time flies so fast." I mean, look, we did it, and I mean, you turned out okay.
It's to be determined. I'm still working on it. I'm a work in progress. Banning the social media works until kids figure out what a VPN is, and then you can just tell your phone that you're in the USA and get on any app you want. But
I don't even know what a VPN is. I know the kind of what it does,
network,
but
yeah.
I don't. I mean, give me a break.
If there are things that are banned where you're at, you can get a VPN and tell that VPN that you are in, say, Canada.
Yes.
And if it's allowed in Canada, then it gives you the same access that you would have in Canada.
I've learned all I know about VPNs on TikTok when they tried to ban TikTok.
That's right. Well, yeah, see, people were doing it. So I read through some of this, and this guy, she quotes this guy, Jonathan Haidt of NYU School of Business, that says, kids today are the anxious generation largely because of smartphones. And she points, this Lucy Folks points to that as not true, that kids are not anxious because of social media. And you might remember, this was probably 100 episodes ago. I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking to this teacher. And this teacher was asking the kids in her class about social media. And she went to one student, and she asked the student, how would you feel if I took you off social media? And the student said, well, I would hate that. I couldn't see what my friends are doing. I wouldn't know what's going on. And the teacher said to the class, how would you all feel if I took all of you off social media? And almost 100% of them said, I think that would be great. So a lot of times kids are on social media because they feel like they're missing out, FOMO, right? Mm-hmm. So I think there is probably a happy medium between total bans and letting kids have carte blanche, to be on social media as often as they want. I think that's going to come down to
Parenting.
It's like
Parenting.
When it comes back to it, just be the best parent you can. And, and I think your kids are going to turn out all right.
I agree, and I also know because I had a sneaky daughter, and I think kids can be very sneaky and have burner phones or whatever, but now, since it is kind of funny to me when they say, oh, the school's about social media, but everything they do now is bring your own device or everything is digital. So I read a different article a couple of days ago. There are schools going back to textbooks. I think it's a great idea. It's like asking an alcoholic to work the bar.
Yeah, I agree.
You're not doing any
If
favors.
there's no devices in the room and you got a textbook, you're probably going to read.
Well, what's funny is more so Kendall than Tate. Tate's my middle one. Tate is never on social media ever anymore. Not at all. He's engulfed in his studies.
Yeah.
He took everything off because he says it was a distraction for him. Kendall is a little bit, more. She's active on it. Logan only goes to TikTok. That's it. He doesn't. I think the last time he ever posted on Facebook was like 2020. So
I don't think any of my kids are. They do post stuff occasionally, but
I think Colton's on Instagram. Only why? Because like when you're friends with people, like you see what they like. It'll say, "Oh, Colton liked this," and I'll see like he likes something. But I think Instagram is like they like Instagram over Facebook, and there's just certain age groups. I think
so too. Yeah, Facebook is pretty much for anybody 40 or 45 plus.
I'm still on it. I
just can't. It takes so much time to catch up on that stuff. I just don't have the bandwidth for it.
But where do you read your Wall Street Journal?
I read it on my iPad.
So you're reading it digitally. So you're just choosing a different medium than most people are. Because like I get my news, like I'll look on Instagram first thing in the morning, and I'll like, okay, what is this news station saying, or what is this pundit saying, or whatever. So I just think it's just a different medium that you're comfortable with and that speaks to you.
Well, yeah, that's true. If I could still get a paper newspaper, I would. But
if I could just get the crossword puzzle.
That's right. No, I don't even do the crossword puzzle. But I one last thing, and then we'll close this up and get Becky in here. But one of the reasons I don't get on Facebook, you pointed me out a post from somebody. I'm not going to say who it is. A couple days ago. And the wallowing that is going on publicly on Facebook right now, look, it's okay. You can have your opinion. You can disagree with everything happening in this country right now. Stop whining and crying. Nobody cares.
I like that everybody's a political science major now.
It's so true, isn't it? It's like right. People are writing these, they are almost
manifestos.
Like essays. And I'm like, you are just stuck in this. Let it go.
Yeah.
Go out to lunch with go out to lunch with a friend. Go, call your mom. Stop thinking that.
Call your mom.
Yeah. But stop thinking that some bureaucrat that gets fired in Washington is somehow just a terrible thing that's going to affect your life. It is not going to affect you one iota. Move on with your life. Focus on the people that are close around you. Take good care of them. Be the best person you can be. I guarantee you'll have a really good life.
Sometimes I really want to be the worst person I can be too, though.
Actually,
sometimes that's a lot of fun.
Sometimes you are a pretty worst person that you can be.
That's a lot of fun too.
Like sometimes you say things and I go, oh, damn, where did that come from?
You're welcome.
Yeah, but you say it with a smile.
But I only say it to you.
Well, this is
I
true.
save it
This
for
is
you.
true.
You're welcome.
So we're going to get Becky in here, Becky Atkins from Summer Revival, and hopefully you'll be nice to her.
I will be nice to Becky because she makes delicious food.
She does. All right, sit tight. We'll be right back.
Are you tired of being left in the dark when the power goes out? Say goodbye to blackouts with Nomic Power Solutions.
As your full-service Generac dealer, they offer individually designed backup power solutions.
From start to finish, they've got you covered.
Nomic Power Solutions, keeping you powered up.
Call or text 512-387-4232 or visit nomicpower.com. Follow on Instagram at Nomic Power for updates.
Nomic Power Solutions. Protect your home, protect your family, stay ready. Southstar Bank has remained true to its Texas roots for over 100 years. A commitment to the people and communities they serve, along with flexible financial solutions, allow their clients to shine. Mortgage loans, checking accounts, or complete business solutions. Southstar Bank is your financial partner. Southstar Bank, trusted by professionals, backed by tradition, built for Texas.
SouthstarBank.com. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender. NMLS 410624. Find your joy at Jovi Belterra. Life is better here. This vibrant 55 and up community is located in Dripping Springs, just right outside of Austin. 1 and 2 bedroom homes, resort style amenities, and just steps away from shops and restaurants. Forget the yard work. This is your time to relax, make new friends, and enjoy the life you've dreamed of. Find your joy at Jovi Belterra. Life is better here. Live JoviBelterra.com, 737-387-6870.
This show is brought to you in part by the Mallet Integrity Team, serving Dripping Springs, Austin, and the surrounding areas of Central Texas since 2004. When you need the best real estate advice and service, give them a call at 512-829-2062 or email them at malletintegrityteam.com. And now here's Steve and Michelle.
And we are back with Becky Atkins of Summer Revival. Welcome, Becky.
Hi, so glad to be here.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
So, how did you end up in Dripping Springs?
Oh, wow.
That's what we want to hear.
I should have planned out that, perfect little story bringing me here. It happened during the pandemic. We had a life change. And my husband and I are both from Texas.
Okay.
I went to UT. He went to Texas State. That's where we met. He was in the military. So we moved around a little bit. He got out of the military. We were up in Portland making wine.
Okay.
And during the pandemic, we decided we wanted to be a part of this growing wine industry here in Texas. So we started researching, different areas to live. We had a winery in Portland, so we wanted to be able to commute back and forth between Hill Country and in Portland. So we needed to be somewhat near the airport. So Dripping Springs was this perfect little, unicorn situation between Fredericksburg and Austin, and had opportunity for us to open at that time a tasting room for our winery. So
cool.
Near family, near wine country.
Did you grow up here in Austin?
I grew up in Dallas.
Oh.
Yeah. I grew up in Dallas. My parents now live in Georgetown. My husband grew up in Corpus.
Well, I grew up semi in Corpus, too. Where did he go to high school?
He did not actually grow up in Corpus. Outside of Corpus.
Outside
of Beeville.
Ah, okay. I know where that is.
Toledo, Texas.
Oh, yeah. I know where that is.
Yeah. So he went to Pettis High School.
Oh, wow.
We had somebody else on the show.
Yeah, to Pettis.
What?
Yes.
Yeah. Was it Barrett? No.
No.
You have to introduce me.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out who that was.
For
they
sure.
all blend together. I was going to say, you came out here and did the wine tasting room. When I moved here in 2003, the drive from Dripping Springs to Fredericksburg, there wasn't I'm not joking. No winery, no brewery, nothing. And what is there now? 75 on that 40-mile stretch of road. This is a happening place for wine.
It's remarkable. Even in the 4 years that we've lived here, it's changed. And that's a deeper conversation if you want to get into it. But,
I had a question about a couple of things about the winemaking. You say sustainable vineyards, and what was the other one? Low intervention winemaking. Explain to me what that is.
So with winemaking, just with anything.
Okay.
I mean, think about organic apples versus commercial. When they're commercially made, they're going to look perfect. But they're going to have a lot of additives to make that doesn't happen in nature. They're not going to be shiny and red every single apple. They're not going to be the exact same size. They're not going to be the perfect shape. So there's a lot added to make that artificial perfection that we as consumers have gotten used to and demand. So it's a little bit complicated there of what the customer needs actually are. And then the organic apple might not always taste exactly the same, might not always have that same sugar content in February as it does in September, as it does in July. The same thing with wine. So we're picking grapes every year. The environment is different. The weather is different. The amount of rainfall is different. The grapes aren't going to taste the same every single year. So you can intervene as a winemaker. You can put in additives, you can put in flavors, you can add sugar so that every time you go to the grocery store and you buy that same bottle of Pinot Noir for the last 10 years, it tastes exactly the same. It's because you can intervene and you can make it taste the same. We do not do that in our winemaking. We want every wine to have its own personality, its own unique personality. And some customers love that, and some customers are uncomfortable with that. Because they see that just as you would an organic apple as an imperfection, as a blemish, because it doesn't look exactly the way that the commercial wines look like on the shelf. That the Pinot Gris might have an extra brightness or an extra acidity than the clean, crisp, Pinot Gris that you're used to buying for $12 at HEB. So we have much more of a story to tell. The wines have much more of a story to tell. And it's so much more exhilarating and fun, but it's a bit of a different market.
So is that putting all the additives in there and the sugars and stuff, is that typically on the lower end of the wine business, or is that is that $12 bottles, or I don't know much about wine,
sorry,
Becky.
I didn't know you meant price. No, I would say it's about 97% of the market.
Really?
Oh yeah.
So even the very expensive wines. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
These
are large production, large scale.
Okay. Yeah. Because the little bit of wine that I know about wine is that the waiter comes out in the restaurant and goes, "This is a vintage whatever blah 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 blah," and I would think, well, that must be special because it's different than the other years, right? So is that kind of an example of what you're talking about?
That would be it. Yeah. And I'm also talking about American wines and large commercial productions.
Yeah.
The wines that you're talking about are going to be smaller scale, and that's why the cost is higher because a lot more attention and care has been given to the way the grapes were picked, to the amount of time that bottle has been stored.
Yeah.
So I guess it's a much longer answer if you want to get into the nitty gritty. But I'm more talking about when you go to HEB and you look at the shelves.
Yeah, that makes complete sense to me. Why? So you started to say, why has this area exploded with people coming here to experience wine?
Fredericksburg has put a lot of money. A lot of California wineries also, which is changing now, which is exciting. But
our Texas wines are definitely competing with the California wines,
which is amazing.
Yeah, because I heard that the climate here is very similar to the way it is in Sonoma and Napa, and they like the whole stressed environment. Like the more stressed the grapes are, the better supposedly the wine is. Is that correct?
Sure. Yeah, it can be. Okay. I mean, it kind of depends on what that stress is, and
not just like, ooh, you suck.
Yeah. But if it needs, perhaps what you're talking about is if the vines are stressed, they have to work harder to get water and go deeper into the soil, to grow those grapes. So, yeah.
I found it very interesting that you were talking about you have owned 7 restaurants, give or take. And coming from Portland, you had a restaurant there. I guess it was a food trailer, right? Called Stella Taco. Was that it? It start off?
A brick and mortar. So we had two locations, one on the north side of Portland and one on the south side of Portland.
And this was your what's the word I'm trying to think? Your Texas roots coming out into Portland. It was tacos and margaritas. Yeah. And how did the Portlanders, how did they take the tacos? I mean, I know like up in the Northeast, or Northwest, it's a burrito or it's not a taco. But like you brought the tacos and they were kind of bougie tacos a little bit, right?
A little bit. Yeah. It's sort of the idea of what, Torchy's was when they first started, of every taco is an individual, taco, has its own build, has its own accoutrements, that are going on it. Portland, when we were in Portland too, was the really height of the food scene there. And what's unique about Portland is every restaurant can excel and be hyper-focused on what they're curating. And I think it's really different than the Texas market, where in Texas, you're used to going into a restaurant that has a little bit of everything for everybody, that you have a large parking lot, you're going to stay there for a while, get your appetizer, your entree, your beverages, your dessert, your whole family's going to be happy. In Portland, you're capable of going to unique restaurants that are really doing exceptional biscuits and exceptional ice cream.
Yes.
And exceptional, right?
I went to a biscuit place in Portland.
Of course you did. And wasn't it exceptional?
It was very exceptional. Yeah, that is interesting.
But
so you can kind of restaurant hop, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And you were asking, how people received it. People wanted to receive it. You came in wanting to enjoy Texas tacos. They didn't come in with their own
idea
expectation or wanting it to be their California taco, so it was a little bit of a different mindset and a little bit of a different creative freedom, I think, for restaurateurs to really be passionate about what they were doing and create something for the customer rather than be reactive to what those customer needs are. Does that make sense?
Would you have Texas people that would come in and be like, oh, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Just a little bit of home here.
Actually, somebody came into Summer Revival last week, and she was like, you look very familiar.
No.
She was a customer.
In Portland?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's amazing.
She was on vacation, even a weirder situation. She was on vacation in Portland and happened to say, oh, can I talk to the owner? I'm from Texas. And so we met, 7 years ago or something.
Wow.
And she recognized me.
So that restaurant sounds like it was a success.
Yes.
But you had to shut it down because of COVID?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah. It is a bummer.
Yeah.
It is a bummer. It was too hard to run.
Were they very strict there in Oregon as far as...
I think that's an understatement.
Okay.
Yeah. They really, really handcuffed businesses and made it hard. I mean, even with liquor sales, you weren't able to do off-premise liquor sales.
Oh, really?
For a long time. They ended up, opening that up over the course of time. But in Portland, having outdoor seating wasn't a great solution for, a good amount of time.
Yeah. February in Portland's not great sitting outside.
Like even
it's not an alternative.
Yeah, May in Portland, it's raining.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I wonder how many thousands of restaurants or businesses closed down in Portland over that whole time.
The majority of our friends that have restaurants are either, no longer running those restaurants or still, kind of climbing.
Or climbing
out of that.
Yeah. How different was that being in El Paso? I saw that you guys were featured in 36 Hours in El Paso in the New York Times, Ripe Eatery, right?
Actually, 3 of our restaurants.
3? Oh, wow.
Yeah, Ripe Eatery. You might not know that we were owners of Ripe Eatery, Tom's Folk Cafe, and Tabla, which was a tapas restaurant.
So those were all
featured in 36 Hours.
Steve, tapas, not topless.
Yeah, we got that a lot. Yeah.
Oh, I got excited for a second.
I thought it was a topless.
Yeah, that was a topless restaurant.
A widespread of restaurants. Yeah, exactly.
In El Paso.
whatever your interests are.
Okay, all right. Okay. You're going to get me in trouble. So was that the first 3 restaurants you opened in El Paso? Because you said in your bio you've had 7. Summer Revival is your 7th one. Was that 1, 2, and 3?
So in El Paso, when I was, I think, 22, my husband was in the Army and was deployed to Iraq. And I think a month into his deployment, we opened our first. My brother and I opened. My brother had just graduated from culinary school here in Austin and was working at, I'll think of it in a minute, a restaurant that's no longer open here. That was an amazing restaurant. I convinced him to move to El Paso because it was a food desert out there. And we opened our first restaurant as babies while my husband was deployed for a year and a half. Yeah. Wow. So that was ripe. He got out of the military. We opened Tom's Folk Cafe, which was a darling. We converted it, a little old house, a 1-bedroom house, into an amazing restaurant.
Similar to Summer Revival?
Oh, yeah, I guess in size. Yeah, no, I think it was even smaller, actually, than Summer Revival. But yeah, very creative menu. Lots of creative energy in that one. And then we opened Tabla, and then we opened the Drifter, which was a food truck. And that was two ahead of its time.
Okay.
That was a quick failure.
So that was 4, and then the one in Portland was 6, and Summer Revival is 7. So what was 5?
We had 2 restaurants in Portland. They were the same. Okay. Yeah.
So the restaurant business has a reputation for being very, very difficult to be successful. Yeah, I know. So how have you been able to have 7?
Well, they're not all successes.
Yeah, okay. So various levels of success. Maybe one was ahead of its time. But, I mean, Summer Revival, you've got a great reputation there. Hopefully I appreciate that. It's doing very, very well. But what's the formula that you have that a lot of these other people don't have?
Oh, that's a great question.
I honestly don't have an answer for that. I think my answer is there is not a formula.
Really?
Yeah. And I think that is the best piece of advice for somebody that is trying to open a restaurant. I have so many friends failing right now. I have a brother in San Antonio who opened a second location with the same formula as the first location that's struggling. There is no, and I mean, that's not a negative on him. It just is a clear indication that there is no manual for the hospitality industry. I think the hospitality industry is also changing so rapidly. And there's so many factors that you can't control, or as soon as you are in control of it. Labor is incredibly hard. Food costs are incredibly hard. Customer needs are very challenging. The introduction during the pandemic of delivery services and, different requirements. Right. Even in Dripping Springs, places for children to play, just the, level of complexity of emotional.
I love that you don't have places for children to play.
Please expand upon that.
Yeah.
I do. Well, when you want to go have, lunch, you don't want to, I don't know, maybe because I'm a mom, but I always feel like I have to have one eye on somebody else's child. And I don't want to do that. I want to be able to sit and enjoy my lunch in a quiet spot. And I feel like I was really thinking about Summer Revival, and it has become one of my favorite spots to eat now for lunch. I really love it. And I call it curated chaos because it's busy all the time, every single time I go in there. But you and the people that you have working for you just have it down.
Oh, thank you.
And one of the things that I'm really kind of starting to see now, a trend towards this whole sourdough craze. Yeah. And you talked about the needs of the customer. Are you starting to see maybe some of these social media trends? I'll just throw some like the sourdough craze, the tip culture, things like that. Are you starting to see a lot of that kind of bleed in to, you're not able to just manage the restaurant. You have to manage the chaos as well in the outside.
Absolutely. Yeah. And maybe that is the formula is that you're asking. If I could funnel it down to one thing, it's a great analogy of a duck in water. Of, when underneath the water,
everything looks calm on
chaos.
The surface.
Yeah. And that's our job. That's our job in hospitality, is for you to come in and feel warm and welcomed, but you want to be part of a party. We want to welcome you into the coolest, your coolest neighbor throwing a party, that we're introducing you to something maybe you haven't had before. You're coming back for that salad that you love so much. We want it to feel lively and energetic, but it needs to feel safe and structured. Yeah. And that's a perfect balance, and it's hard to achieve consistently. Yeah.
What was that one salad that they had that I went 3 times in 1 week?
Something peach.
It was peach. Yeah, it was a peach.
It's coming back. Yeah.
That was one of the questions. You've had some really interesting menu items there. How do you guys coming up with these interesting dishes?
We are very, very blessed. Oh, we're all, my husband and I both run the restaurant, and we are like constantly coming up with new ideas, whether they be different business directions or menu items or specials that we're trying to do. But we have a really, really great team and a very talented chef.
The McConaughey tuna, remember?
Yeah, right. So that's actually a great example of your previous question of
social media.
Are we following trends? Yeah. And to expand upon that it is important that we are bringing sort of those things that you find to be interesting, that you're connecting to outside of our restaurant, but not making them a fixture of our restaurant.
He didn't know, he didn't know what it was when he went there. And behind the counter, she said, oh, this is the Matthew McConaughey tuna salad. I was like, oh, does it have the crispy jalapenos? Yes. And Steve was like, what are you talking about? I was like, okay, well, I'll fill you in.
Yeah.
I'll fill you in onto the McConaughey tuna. Like,
I wasn't cool either. When I was presented this idea for the January special, I had to look it up. And I was shocked at how many people I've told about, when they walked in, this is going to be our special. I would say 9.5 out of 10 knew exactly what I was talking about. Shocked. Yeah.
Wow.
They're cooler than me.
Yeah, and they're way cooler than me because I still don't know. So, Becky, I want to go back a little bit. So you come up with a new menu item. Are you seeing something at some other place and then making a variation of it? Or do you walk in the kitchen one day and you go, you got all these ingredients, you go, this sounds like it would go well together. Or how are you? I cooked just a little tiny bit, and being in the kitchen and seeing what you have and then trying to make a dish out of that. How do you guys come up with the first step of creating a brand new dish?
There is no consistent answer to that question. There's no checklist that we go through. I think it's all over.
Okay.
We see something on Instagram that inspires us that another restaurant is doing. We went out to eat and saw something. We're doing a pork cheddar sandwich this month because our chef was eating at a restaurant a pork cheddar is a very classic sandwich, but was eating at a restaurant in Austin called Meat and Bread, I believe is what it's called.
Okay.
That's known for their pork cheddar and absolutely loved it and wanted to bring something like that because we typically do these sort of crazy wild specials that are a little bit extravagant. And this was a very flavorful, very impressive sandwich, but very simple. So wanted to, every month, we don't want to be just trying to one up the last one.
Oh, yeah.
We want diversity and we want to think about the weather. That's why we did the McConaughey tuna salad is in January. What are we going to do to bring people in? That's interesting. But it's a little healthier because people start their diets.
Oh,
they want to pivot. So we really think about what those needs are. And even this month when we're doing the pork cheddar, we wanted to do something heavier. We want more men coming in and feeling like they can connect to the food that we're serving. And it doesn't just feel like a ladies' tea room. So we want to present those things a little more front and center to,
So it's the Sandra Bullock porchetta sandwich? Is that what it's called?
You wish.
Get the men in there.
You wish for sure. Are you starting to see more, not just the healthier trends you talked about, January, everybody is on a diet, but are people starting to now really pay attention to what is in their food, the cleaner foods?
That's a great question.
Are they farm to table?
Have you had somebody come up and go, are there any seed oils in this?
Yes. Everything has seed oil.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
I wrote down a note, customer needs. I think that's going to get filed under that customer needs.
Yeah, but Dripping Springs has very diverse needs. We definitely have people that are concerned about seed oils. We definitely have people that are concerned where the chickens are raised, for the chickens that we're using, for the eggs that we're using. the salmon that we're using.
What I want to know, just like, what is the most bizarre question you've been asked to, like, where?
She may not want to do that because
Did the chicken have family? Did the chicken have a family?
That was Portlandia.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they named the chicken. I think the waiter came out with the this is what you'll be eating this evening. His name was Larry.
I don't want
my
to.
God,
I don't want to
no,
know my chicken's name when I eat it. I don't want to know.
It's got to be so hard. Now, I feel like I'm fairly healthy and I kind of watch what I eat. But if I go in a restaurant, I'm not nitpicking everything. I figure, that's the time you can just let it go. But
You're not much of as a foodie, though.
Sorry.
No, I'm not much of a foodie. But go ahead and finish your thought, Becky.
I was going to say, I think a lot of people that come in are a little bit on both sides of the spectrum.
Okay.
They come in and they're very thoughtful, very curious. They want to ask a lot of questions. And then they typically walk themselves still to the item on the menu that they were most attracted to, right? So they want to know all the information.
That's
but
funny.
they don't
to
always
me.
use that information.
That's
No,
you.
I don't think so. I think that's somebody that's going through the effort of trying to be healthy, but in the end, they eat whatever the heck they want.
I think that's fine.
sound
Yeah, I think
informed.
so,
I think
too.
that's absolutely fine.
Sound informed, but really
Yeah.
their stomach is really the one that's guiding
You
them.
know what I'm going to equate that to? I'm going to go off on a tangent. It's the people make their January resolutions to go to the gym for an hour 3 times a week, and they go to the gym for an hour and they sit on their phone on Instagram. But they're able to say, I checked it off. I went to the gym
That
for
is
an
so
hour.
true. But you know what, though, I'm just going to kind of give the shout out to the tuna sandwich. When was the last time? You've never seen me eat tuna. I do not eat. I am not a tuna fish eater at all. And when I saw that on your menu and they were telling me about it, I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it. And not only have I ordered it twice, I've ordered it 3 times.
Yeah, that's good.
That's incredible.
It was really because I don't. And then I had Lisa Sloan. She was with the city. She was there, and she was like, "Oh no, I don't eat tuna." And I said, "No, this is not tuna you just eat.
Yeah.
This is tuna you enjoy."
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
I absolutely love that. And I think that's what we're trying to do in Dripping Springs is pull threads. We have things on the menu that we earn your trust with. That you came in and you felt good about it. It felt safe. And then the next time you come in, you're going to try something a little more challenging. And nothing on our menu is aggressive. Nothing on our menu.
Ooh, that sounds like. I mean, I know
want you to
exactly what
trust.
you're talking about. Like when something is aggressive that you eat, and you're like, oh, either you're going to love it or you're going to hate it, or you're going to have food envy because somebody else has it. But that's really good. Like it almost seems
Sounds
like
like oysters to me.
it's a very shareable
sell.
place too. I feel like you sit down and if I'm eating something and Steve's eating something and I'm like, we go over there. We go over there. I want some of that.
Yeah. So you're talking about the people that come in and you're earning their trust. How are you spreading the word about the restaurant?
That is my biggest challenge.
Is it?
Yeah, that's my biggest challenge. And I talk to people about it all day long. Marketing is hard.
Yeah.
Marketing is very, very hard.
What have you found that's effective?
Word of mouth. And that's why
isn't
it's
that
taken
funny?
us 3 years to get where we are. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was not a speed pass.
How about social media influencers? Have you had anybody come in and say, I'm, XYZ with Austin Foodie, blah, blah, blah. And if you give me this, and I will showcase it.
Sure.
I mean, have people done
Have
that?
We have. Yeah. And we have done that. I used to be much more aggressive. I also wear all the hats.
Yeah.
So it's not a aggressive decision for me to be less involved in social media.
Yeah.
I just have to pick where to spend my time.
Yes.
And where to spend my money, because I could obviously give that responsibility to somebody else. But you have to think about return on investment. And social media has recently changed. I'm sure when somebody listens to this recording in 6 months, it's going to be quite different than it is today and different than it was 3 months ago. But the algorithm continues to change. I need to speak to people locally. I need to speak to people that are going to come to my restaurant once a week, twice a week. I can pay influencers, but that's going to reach a much wider net of people that might come once every 6 months. Might come in from Austin.
Right.
You may not
and
be
I'm
able to
selling
handle
$14 sandwiches.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's the
an
other thing.
interesting
Capacity, right? Yeah,
point
you got
too.
Yeah.
Is the busier we get, the harder it is for people to park, the longer wait that people have.
the parking,
So we create, as we solve one problem, we might create another. So it's us trying, instead of just focusing so much on volume and wanting more and more and more, is how can we be more thoughtful about spreading out those sales? How can we get more catering or more offsites events that we can do in addition to? But we also have a very small kitchen.
I was going to ask
Yeah.
that. Do you have an offsite kitchen, or is it just that? Because my little view of your kitchen is
that's the view.
okay. It looks
It's
teeny tiny.
Amazing what our kitchen is creating in such limited restraints.
I see two guys back there, and then I see the girls kind of going back and forth, and I'm just like, there's got to be another hidden little area kind of off to the back.
No,
that's
a chaos.
Did you guys sit down and go, okay, we only have this tiny little space, and design it out really like very strategically, or did you just go, got to get all this stuff in there and fit it where it went?
It's funny that you should ask that today.
Yeah.
It's been an evolution. So we opened originally as a tasting room. So it was cold kitchen. We did charcuterie. We were doing oyster night.
That's when we first
we
came
were
there.
doing baguette sandwiches. Very sort of low preparation. We even had the waiter, the person in the front, the staff, was kind of turning around and making the dishes because the food just complemented the wine that we were selling. We obviously quickly pivoted into a restaurant where the wine is complementing the food. So we've reversed that. But we've had to get extremely creative because we didn't open as a restaurant of how to use that small space to make a full menu's worth of, offerings. Because you're not just making the food like that. That's the obvious part. But we bring in raw ingredients. We turn those raw ingredients into prepped ingredients. We turn those prepped ingredients into the food that's going out to your table. So how can we be the most efficient, the most organized? And a lot of that is forethought.
Yeah.
How much can we do ahead of time? What sauces can we make ahead of time? How can we prepare the salads up to that final stage so that it can go out to the customer quickly? Because not only are we limited on space, but when you're limited on space, we can only have 2 people making food for the entire restaurant. And oftentimes, half of the restaurant walks in at the same time. So how do we make sure we're taking care of the customer needs, which is food, time and quality and price point all simultaneously. So we've had to get really creative. But the short answer was we have somebody coming today, a professional kitchen designer to come, which happens to be today, to really be like, all right, do we start, did we do this right? Are there things that we can add? Or can you look at it through a new lens so that we can be more efficient? Or do we need to rent a outside kitchen to do some of the prep?
Is the city hard to work with as far as if you needed to build additional outbuildings or kind of expand? I know like we were talking about the park.
Want to answer.
I might not want to answer that.
But I see the parking situation sometimes it's kind of wonky when you get in there, but it is worth it.
We are limited. There is a clear answer to that we don't need to work with the city because we cannot expand because it's a drain field behind our restaurant. There's nothing that we can do. What we could do is do additional seating. We have like a little patch where we could do additional seating behind the restaurant and do like an outdoor patio. But now we have to put in a handicap accessibility. We don't have a short path for my staff to get out there. So it would be sort of a blind spot, which is not a great thing to have in hospitality is an outdoor seating that we can't manage. You talked about children running around and having to watch them. I think that would also open up a can of worms of, a little bit of a different sort of environment happening if we did that. But now we have more seating, but no more parking. So we're creating a problem rather than solving a problem. So we need both more parking and more seating to happen at the exact same time.
What you just talked about with your small kitchen and the restrictions that you have impresses me even more because I've never felt like I had a long wait at your restaurant and the food has always been perfect every time. It's like if, with some of those limitations, you would think, give them a break, but it's been great every time. I'm even more impressed.
It's really good. I want to ask you, tell me the story behind the weenie dog in the logo.
my husband gave me a weenie dog when we were dating.
There's
I'm
the
looking
weenie.
for it on
There's
the
the weenie
website.
dog.
His name's Beanie.
Oh, Beanie the weenie.
Beanie the
Beanie the
Weenie.
weenie. That's funny.
And he unfortunately passed away.
Aw.
Yeah, he was
But he lives
almost
on.
18 years old.
Beanie the weenie lives on.
He lives on. My husband even has a wiener dog tattoo as his wedding ring on his wedding ring finger. So we are a wiener dog family. If you want to know the long answer to that, though, we think a wiener dog's a perfect mascot for summer revival because dachshunds are hounds. So they think they're very serious and they take themselves very seriously, but they're very goofy and silly dogs and very quirky.
It's a great
and
analogy.
I think that's perfect for summer revival. Yeah.
And you love them.
And you
love
them.
it. Yeah.
So Ian is your husband and Olive is your daughter.
That's right.
And what do you guys do for fun outside? Or is your daughter, it's kind of like being a pastor's child, right? Your daughter's growing up in the restaurant business. So, I mean,
well, I wasn't going to go there, but you're absolutely right. I mean, on Sunday, I was supposed to take her to Lunar New Year Festival in Austin, and an employee called in sick. So Olive put on her apron.
Oh, really?
And she came to work and handed out menus and refilled waters. And we were slow for a little while. So she's like, Mom, I'm going outside. And she took a sign and started counting. I paid her $1 for every car that came in.
oh,
that day.
look at
That's
that.
awesome.
So she's
$1.
a trooper.
Jeez,
Are you hiring?
I might come work
Yeah,
for
are you hiring?
Yeah, $1. Jeez.
I'll be there. I'll be
I
there
am
at 11 o'clock.
hiring, so always hiring.
Hey, if excuse me, if you see Steve and I waiting
Yeah.
tables at Summer Revival, don't judge
I'll give
us.
you
One
an
of the
apron, yeah.
signs, Summer Revival out there. Woo.
Don't judge us for sure.
Becky, what's a typical day look like for you? Typical work day?
It's different every
Is
day.
it?
Yeah, it's different every day. Because some days I am, like yesterday, I was working the front register. You know, I was the order taker and the food runner yesterday, which I love doing. But it's hard to work on a business when you're working in a business.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Yeah. That's a lesson I will forever never learn.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I enjoy it, and I think you need to also be in your business to learn how to be better, how to change, things to make them more efficient, to listen to the feedback from the customer, those kind of things. But typically wake up, do social media, do accounting, return emails. Our day starts early because we have a 6-year-old, so she gets on the bus at 6:45. So that gives us a little bit of typically go in to work 2 hours before everybody else gets there. And do projects, clean things, fix equipment that's broken, run
Isn't it
errands.
amazing?
Yeah,
Business of doing business.
Yeah.
There's a lot of details. Yeah.
It's people that have never owned a business think about all the romantic side of it, like you coming out with a couple really nice glasses of wine and putting them down and then you go back to the kitchen and they're like, oh, it must be so fun to have this. But they don't think about all that other stuff you got to do to keep a business.
You got to put in orders for the wine. You got to make sure.
It reminds me of when Steve's daughter, which I love her to death, Gracie, she came to work for us for a little bit. And then when she actually found out what we did and what her dad did, she was like, this sucks.
I don't want to do this. I told her, I said, you know what? Part of life is figuring out what you want to do, but also figuring out what you don't want to do. And you've discovered that real estate is not your thing.
Yeah, I don't want to do this.
There are no easy paths, I don't think, to success.
No, for sure. Well, I have some rapid fire questions.
I
Steve,
have
do
a
you
couple more before you get to that.
You go right ahead.
In your bio, Becky, you said that you think a lot about what Dripping Springs will look like when it grows up, which I love that line.
Gosh.
That almost should be like a tagline.
I suggested that as a tagline.
Yeah.
Someone said it to me. Sarah from the library. What is Sarah's last name?
Sarah Rose.
Sarah,
Yeah.
obviously. What a beautiful name.
Yeah.
She said that to me one time, and I've repeated it multiple times.
Yeah, it's great. I love that. But when you think about that, what do you think Dripping's going to look like in 5 or 10 or 15 years?
I don't think that's my choice.
Yeah.
I think
But you're part of it.
I am.
You're part of
I
its
am.
story right now.
And I'm aggressively part of it. And I'm trying to bring people. I think you asked me that just at a great moment in my own development. is I'm trying to bring people together because I am concerned two things could happen. Either one person can make that decision, like what do I want Dripping Springs to look like? And I can try to make that a reality. And I think that's a little bit scary and shouldn't happen. I also think nobody is going to think about that and question it and get creative about how to make a path towards something. And we're going to lose our heart.
You think we'll sort of haphazardly fall forward and not have any plan about what it'll look like? And that could let us lose our character in
The
Dripping
charm,
Springs?
maybe?
I think you worded that perfectly. I do think that is a reality. Yeah. Even if you think about Mercer Street, we don't have the connectivity that we need. I was in a meeting recently, and there was a lot of conversation with the new schools opening that it's going to be east side versus west side. That's not something I have a 6-year-old in kindergarten. We are not competitive with other schools. We're not competitive with other neighborhoods. It's not something on my radar at all. And I have heard so many people speak to that I do think people don't even will start to not think about Dripping Springs as Dripping Springs. We will just be this kind of like web of places or schools or or your church that you're connecting to. But what is bringing everybody together? What is our common ground?
Right.
And how are we supporting? I know so many people that never come actually into Dripping Springs. You do all your shopping in Austin or Belterra or online.
Yeah, that's true. The east side over Belterra, Headwaters, High Point, a lot of times those people never come this way. Maybe unless they got a high school.
Even
kind of was
Headwaters
that way.
is growing on its own. You won't at some point need to leave your neighborhood.
I used to feel that same way too, because we live in High Point, and my kids went to Rooster Springs, and when they started going to middle school, that was the only time I was really going in, because I would even go to HEB because HEB wasn't here yet. We were going to HEB outside of the area, but now I'm more invested because I'm working here. I'm here more than I'm not here. And I don't know. I feel like there is something beautiful here in Dripping Springs that we need to protect it, all of us. And like what you were saying, or I said earlier, you're a part of that story. We're a part of that story. Everybody that's living, whether you're in Belterra or you're way out close to Henley, you need to protect it.
Yeah. There's a couple things I was thinking about. One is when I moved here in 2003, people talked about it, the east side and the west side.
Yeah.
And the west side was kind of considered like the poor side. Like, you get out towards Henley, that's where the mobile homes were. And the east side was where Belterra was coming and some of the subdivisions were coming in.
It was the old drip, new drip.
Yeah. And then we got the HEB, and all the people that lived in Belterra and High Point came into Dripping because this is where the HEB was. But then when the Nutty Brown one opened, then you started hearing the east and west things again.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's not the first time this has come up, but I think it's real important. The second part of that is what you said about one person making a decision about what Dripping Springs will look like. I kind of agree and kind of disagree. I do think one person can make a decision about how Dripping Springs grows and prospers, but it's each person, and you're doing it right now. You have created a restaurant here that's a wonderful business, and you're trying to be the best restaurateur, the wine company owner that you can be. And when you do that, you take that responsibility on. That brings more people to Dripping Springs. And that's what Michelle and I do here. We're just trying to bring people, let people know about the other people in the community. And if every individual person does that, this will be a kick-ass town.
Oh, absolutely.
Even more so than it is, for sure.
But how do we inspire that? That's, I think, the golden question is
be the example.
How do we rapid
inspiring
fire?
me. You are inspiring me because I have seen so many crappy restaurants pop up and go away in this town. And to have somebody of your caliber over there doing what you're doing, that inspires me. And it makes me, and I know if I lived in Austin and I came out and went to Summer Revival, I would be like, damn, I never would have expected this in Dripping. So
we got that actually a couple days ago. So we should have a James Beard.
A what?
You were talking about James Beard Awards the other day. No?
Were we talking about that?
Oh, yes. I think I was.
So
yeah.
I think that was you.
You can take that part out.
Yeah. No, we won't take it out. No. I wanted to ask, and then I'll let you do your rapid fire. You've done a marathon.
Oh.
How long ago was that?
A lifetime. in college.
Oh, you did it in college? That's actually pretty young. Most people don't do them until they're a little bit later
Well, I
in
had
life.
Steve did one yesterday. I'm just going to let you know.
Yeah, you probably did. You did 40,000 steps or something yesterday. But have you thought about going back and getting into running? I know it's hard with a 6-year-old.
It's hard, and I need to get past the... I like to be all in on things. So if I'm not training for a marathon, why bother?
Yeah.
I need to, be
need to get
okay with
over
a
that.
5K.
Yeah.
I need to just get back out there
Yeah.
and be okay with not being great.
Yeah.
And at my age, it's also just to keep moving your body
That's
and
exactly right.
and to just feel
I
feel
think
good.
you move your
Yeah.
body a lot.
Yeah, that's right.
I should. I'm like the only person that doesn't track how much I'm walking.
That
but
would be very
I should.
interesting to see how many steps that you're walking
And up and down.
up and down. Around,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. I'm sure you get a ton of exercise. But, well, one day, maybe you get back into your running career.
Well,
and
you're inspiring me.
Steve
Well,
will
I
help
hope
you.
Yeah, I'll help you. I think it's true. You do what you can, and with having this restaurant and a 6-year-old, if all you can do is get out and run a couple miles, that's fine.
Yeah,
Just do it.
but you need to teach that to your kids too.
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
true.
And
yeah.
it's okay to not be the
Yeah,
best.
Yeah. Well, but you could be the best 2-mile runner
Totally.
in town. So
That's
it's all perspective.
I'm gonna make that a T-shirt.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I'm the best
I'm the best 2-mile runner.
I'll get you a T-shirt.
That's great. Okay, so here's some of my rapid fire. What is weirder, Portland or Austin?
Portland.
Oh, there you
No
go.
question.
That is interesting.
That was an
Yeah.
easy one.
I loved Portland. I loved the area outside of Portland. Portland to me was a pit. I could not wait to get out of Portland. But when we went to Mount Hood a couple times over the last couple
incredible.
years, one of the prettiest places in the country. Beautiful.
Yeah,
up
the
there.
area surrounding it. Okay, so what is your favorite menu item at summer?
Oh, I absolutely hate that question, and
Well,
I get asked it
answer
5
it.
times a day.
Answer it.
The
No,
revival.
no,
bowl.
not the answer, not the standard answer
no,
you
no.
give.
Yeah.
Like the actual, like the guilty pleasure that's not even on the menu.
See, I'm
that
boring.
that was
Chicken sandwich, Michelle.
sandwich.
Chicken sandwich.
No.
That's my go-to.
The chicken salad?
No, I'm a chicken sandwich. I pretty much.
You mean everywhere?
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll go to a restaurant and a great big menu,
you're
and Michelle will go, "There's a chicken sandwich." Like, I know, I'm gonna get it.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to the restroom, and he'll come back, and I'm like, I already ordered for
Yeah.
you. I already got it. So, like,
So even though I don't exercise, I've been blessed in life with enjoying to eat healthy. I just like it. I like to get the healthy thing on the menu. And I am not torturing myself, but I'm boring.
is it the Faro Bowl or
It's the revival bowl.
the Revival
Yeah.
Bowl?
Which
Have you
one?
had it?
So what's in that? I can't remember.
We do like a purple cabbage slaw, sunflower seeds. We make a charred broccoli
Okay.
pesto, a white bean spread, fresh avocado. I'm missing something.
that sounds
That
healthy.
sounds
It's good. It's
Yeah.
really healthy.
We'll
Oh,
have to
and
try it.
quinoa.
Quinoa, yeah,
Of course,
can't go wrong
quinoa.
with quinoa.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was your favorite menu item at any of your other restaurants? Like if take all 7 restaurants and your absolute favorite that you had.
Okay, this might be a better one for you then.
Okay.
So, we had a green chili deep fried chicken. Yeah.
Ooh, that
Yeah.
sounds good.
That does
With
sound yummy.
Gouda mashed potatoes.
Oh, you may have to have that as a special one night. That sounds really good. Okay, so what is your least favorite food? Not at your restaurants, but just your least favorite food that you were like, I won't. Like Steve told me the other day, which I was shocked. He goes, he eats raw radishes. I think it's the strangest thing.
With
I've
butter?
ever-
No, with salt.
No. Try
You
with
just
salt
wash
and
them
butter.
off and then put a little salt on them with butter.
Good. Yeah.
Just
That's
like
a French way of eating.
not like sautéed in butter,
Nope.
like just spread
Yeah.
butter on them.
Yeah.
I'll have to try
Oh,
that.
there
I
you
have
go.
some
With
in the
salt.
fridge
With salt.
with salt.
With
So
salt.
yeah, maybe like slice it in half so you have a nice flat surface. Put a little bit of good butter if you have it, and then some.
Okay,
flake
I may
salt.
have to.
Try
I
that.
have to try that.
See?
That
Okay.
might have turned
Yeah,
you.
that may
Yeah,
have turned
yeah.
me. So,
Bok choy
oh yeah,
in any fashion.
yeah.
I don't like the texture.
It is. It's goopy.
It's goopy.
It you know what it reminds me of? Like if you left a succulent out and it froze.
Oh,
that's
nailed
what
it.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
And it just kind of mushes.
I
and-
just
yeah.
dealt with that
Yeah.
after this last.
Well, there
fruit.
you go. It was a bok
A lot
choy
of
plant.
waterlogged plants and
What is the best part of living in Dripping Springs that has surprised you, that you didn't think when you first moved here, you know, it had this idealistic, little charm of a town, and then there was something that was just, wow, I didn't realize I was going to like living here so much because of whatever this is?
Even though I gave you pushback on your question earlier, I am so inspired by the enthusiasm of what is happening next. And the acceptance of nobody quite knows what that is. And especially being new, you would think, you know, sort of the old guard would be protecting the ownership of what is happening next.
Or resistant.
Yeah. And I'm sure that happens. And I'm sure I've seen it, and I'm just not alluding to it now, but that everybody wants to work together, wants help. You know, everybody wants to work together. Everybody wants to see a better path forward for Dripping Springs. And I really thought there was going to be a lot of resistance to somebody new coming in and having a new energy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I think this town has been very welcoming of people moving here and trying new things. I think where people go wrong, and you don't see it as much as you used to, but people would come here and they would go, well, the way we did it in Portland,
right.
It's like, you start any conversation with that, it's going downhill. But
absolutely. Well, we're not in Portland.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I think that is
for
fair.
a reason, we're not in Portland.
Correct.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Becky, for...
I have one more question.
Oh, do you?
I do. I have one more question.
Well, go. What is it?
It's, you lived in Zambia. Oh. What the hell were you doing in Zambia?
That's a funny closing question.
Yeah. Tell us about that. What took you to Zambia?
I used to be a much more interesting person in my previous life. I ran a marathon, and same time period. I actually turned 21 while I was in Zambia.
Wow.
My junior year of college, and I went to UT. I studied abroad in the fall and studied in Prague. So I went to a Czech school in the fall, and then I took the semester off in the spring. And I raised Jewish. My family's Jewish, but I went with a friend and lived on a Catholic mission in a very small town in Zambia called Limulunga. And that is it's not part of a service. It's not part of there are a lot of organizations in Africa where you can come and volunteer and sort of be part of something. We had a very small connection with a church in San Antonio who had a mission in Zambia and were welcoming of me and a friend of mine who also went to UT to come live with them for 6 months. So we, were very ingrained in this insanely third world country.
Yeah.
And, did HIV/AIDS prevention, worked with the orphan program. It was incredible. And that was before phones. I mean, we would call home, every few weeks on a car battery phone.
Oh, geez,
or telling your bubby that you're living at a Catholic. You're Jewish.
I'm so grateful that somehow my whole family was like, "All right, that's what you're doing."
What a great life experience!
But we literally got off the plane hoping someone was going to be there to pick us up. Like, I don't, it all worked.
Can you imagine, like, this day and age, like, not having your access to
you track. I mean, you know.
I do.
Right.
I do.
Yeah.
I can tell you where they are right now.
When they're shopping at HEB. Yeah, it's like.
They're in their 20s and they're all
how my
married.
parents were like, all right.
It's because the way they grew up, they knew that was a life experience. That's the stuff that matters.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think we need to be a little bit slower sometimes and take these chances.
Agreed. Yeah. Well, Becky, this was a lot of fun.
Oh, wait. I had another question.
Go ahead.
I just kidding.
I actually had about 4 more I wanted to ask, but we're running out of time. So, Becky, I wish you great success with Summer Revival. It's a wonderful restaurant. I think we've been there about once a week.
150 times.
For the last couple months, we've been there once a week.
I know. I can't wait to see what we split our time between Pigpen and Summer Revival for sure.
Good.
Yeah, we do. Tuesdays is Pigpen Day, and then we have another day.
We actually opened Summer Revival to be that. Like there's so many barbecue and pizza, and everybody's doing such a phenomenal job in those categories. Yeah. We wanted to be the balance to that. Yeah. So we're not trying to compete with those businesses. We want to be
complimentary.
The compliment. Yeah. And thank you so much for doing this for the community and encouraging your community to be supporting all of the small businesses, or even if it's not a small business, the unique things that are happening, because it's so easy to sit in our homes and say, what we really need is, and what we really should have is, and what would be really great is if we had these parks and if we had these trails and then never use them or support them. Right. Because if we want our community to keep growing and keep being supportive of one another, it's an ecosystem.
Yeah. And it takes some constant reminding.
Sure.
But when people listen to this, they'll feel like they know you. You're going to have people walk in up to your counter and go, Becky, I never knew you lived in Zambia. And hey, we're going to run a marathon. You in?
Yes. Where's your T-shirt?
The only thing I've ever griped about not having is an Arby's. I just want an Arby's.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my fast food.
I'm surprised, actually.
Isn't it?
It would do well.
We were supposed to have an Arby's over by where Burger King was, and then Burger King came in, and now Burger King's no more.
That's right. They're gone.
Thank you again so much, and we will see you in a couple of days, and I can't wait to see what your specials are.
Yeah. Thank you, Becky.
Thank you.
Find your joy at Jovi Belterra. Life is better here. This thoughtfully designed 55-plus community is paired with resort-style amenities and social activities. They offer 1- and 2-bedroom homes located in Dripping Springs, the gateway to the Hill Country. Make friends, make memories, make time for you at Jovi Belterra. Live JoviBelterra.com, 737-387-6870.
From rodeo clowns, teachers or doctors, and everyone in between, Texans have one thing in common: hard work deserves smart banking. At Southstar Bank, whether you're buying your first home, building a dream ranch, or just managing daily finances, our 16 branches across Central Texas are here for you. Southstar Bank, trusted by professionals, backed by tradition, and built for Texas. SouthstarBank.com, member FDIC, an equal housing lender, NMLS 410624.
Nomic Power Solutions, keeping you powered up.
Get to know your local full-service Generac dealer.
Cody and Dylan with Nomic Power Solutions are a veteran-owned, Texas-based Generac dealer and installer.
Offering low monthly payment options, it's never been easier to gain independence from the grid.
Call or text 512-387-4232 or visit nomicpower.com. Follow on Instagram at Nomic Power for updates.
Turnkey service including design, plumbing, electrical, and permits.
They even offer set-it-and-forget-it maintenance plans. Nomic Power Solutions.
Protect your home. Protect your family. Stay ready.
This show is brought to you in part by the Mallet Integrity Team, serving Dripping Springs, Austin, and the surrounding areas of Central Texas since 2004. When you need the best real estate advice and service, give them a call at 512-829-2062 or email them at malletintegrityteam.com.
You know you like us, so go now to Apple Podcast or Spotify and leave us a review. Why don't ya? We love your feedback and comments. Email us at malletandmichelle@gmail.com.
Thanks for putting up with us.